Doug Day to all who celebrate, and if you don't celebrate it, get ready to celebrate it real soon. First time having Doug on in how long? A while.
Year 365, I think.
Oh, wow. So,
Yeah.
what's been going on in your life in the off season? First of all, it's what the people care about the most.
Oh, it's felt short because I was backing up for the playoffs. I was still in Cleveland for a while, all the way up until, the end of the ALCS. I went on vacation for a week. I had 1 week of not throwing. I don't take a lot of time off just because Florida boy, and I feel like I never want to take any time off from throwing. But took 1 week off, went back home, started working out and everything, and now I'm here in Arizona getting a little check-in in.
So, you kind of talked about getting to be up here for the playoffs. Probably, I would assume your first real extended stay in Cleveland, if I had to guess. What did you
Yeah,
think about the city and just being in the building for those kind of games?
it was electric. I hadn't been to a Guardians game in that was the first one I ever been to was game one of the AL, or I guess it wasn't game one. No, it wasn't game one. It was game three of the ALDS. The first one that was at home. It was place was rocking, dude. It is awesome in there. I was sitting kind of where all the family and friends sit and everything. It was just the place was rocking the whole time.
Yeah, it was so cool. Me and Pat actually went to that game together. That was just the most nuts ending. Did you play with Jonk in the minors at all?
Yeah, yeah. We played my first season. We were in high A together. That was unbelievable that he was in high A that year. But first year was 22. We played together a little bit in 23, but he was mostly in AAA. And then I didn't really play with him at all this year. He was up by the time I got to AAA.
So you talked a bit about getting up to AAA. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, so this is kind of just my best guess based off of the stats and what the people on Twitter that are nice say. For what it seemed like last year for you, you found something with your control that elevated you to the next level, brought you up through Akron into Columbus. You had a great ride in Columbus up until the playoffs, had a 6 start in the playoffs. What was different for you this year? Or was it more just sticking to your process and results turn eventually?
I had a whole. I hate using the word change. It sounds silly, but I like saying adapt just because I don't really want to change who I am and kind of how I attack the game, but there was a lot of stuff that had to be changed. And going into last off season, coming off that horrible, like not horrible, but like there was just a lot that had to be changed in that season, especially throwing strikes. And I dropped my arm slot down. I mean, I was like right over top, right here. Dropped it down to about a three-quarters arm slot. Just allowed me to be on time more often, keep the ball over the plate. But also, I threw a little bit harder, made my changeup better, and I feel like a lot for all those reasons combined, it kind of catapulted me up to AAA and gave me a chance to kind of compete again once I got there.
Yeah, and on those changes, we hear me and Jack, as guys who have been following the Guards organization for our entire lives, we hear a lot about how well this org develops young pitching. So, how much of those changes that you made, would you attribute to something that a coach saw, or is that more just like a feel thing for you?
It was totally driven by them. They came to me actually in the middle of the season in 2023, and they told me that we really want you to make these changes because I mean I really have been an inconsistent. It sounds awful to say as a pitcher. I just replicate one movement the entire time, but I've been pretty inconsistent throughout my career at replicating one movement. So I threw some balls from here at that time, but I also threw some from a three-quarters arm slot. And they're like, "Hey, we've identified that you throw a lot harder, you throw more strikes when you throw your more often down here. So we want to shift all of them down there, or even if we're gonna shift all of them to here, and even if you have variability, we want them to be even lower." And initially, it's hard. Nobody wants to change or adapt right off the bat. So, I struggled the rest of that. I kind of toyed with the thought of actually doing even what they told me for the rest of that season. And it wasn't until the end of the offseason I was like, got to buy in now. I spent the whole offseason here making that change, really guided through them. And I couldn't have made it without them because there was just the way that we handled numbers and the way that we handled like development in this organization made it possible for me to, I don't know, believe in it. Because if I didn't have buy-in, it wouldn't have worked. Nothing about it wouldn't have worked unless I was full blown into making the change.
And with that, that's a tough thing to do because you're a guy who was a great pitcher in college. You played at a big school. You came in second round pick. So you have every right in your own mind, as you should, like, hey, I'm a hell of a ball player. I've been doing this for a long time. My way works a little bit too, you know? You have to be a big guy to be like, you know what? Maybe I need to fix something, or there's people who know more than me. The mental side of it is just massive in baseball. Can you just talk a bit about how you keep that level-headedness through 140 or whatever it is in the minors? Maybe it is 162 also, because it's got to be
Yeah.
really freaking hard.
Yeah, it's really tough. I was actually talking about it at the field today. We were talking about just like if you have a problem and if you can fix it, great, move on. And if you have a problem that you can't fix, great, move on. Like a lot of you're just constantly having to deal with stuff all the time. You're dealing with success, failure, and it's all coming at you really quick. And it's easy to ride the emotional roller coaster. But like if you can just approach it with that mindset of like, okay, I can control this problem and I can fix it, or if it's something I can't control, I just got to move on. And like not lingering on those thoughts makes it so much easier to get through the season. Because if you don't, you're going to torture yourself. That happens a lot too. Is guys just torture themselves over the choice to or to not make changes, or you know, it's simple. The hitters and my and our job, like the hitters will tell me if I'm doing my job. If I go out there and I can't get balls past guys, or if I'm walking the house, like they're telling me that I need to make change. And if the hitters, they can tell me all I want, but if I get the hitters out, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because that's my job.
This is just a personal niche question I've always wondered. So you get your pitching visits every so often throughout a game. How much of that is like a mixture of maybe if it's later in your start, you're just stalling for whoever's getting up in the pen, or is it just straight? Are they coming down just delivering the news to you? Like, what's going on out there?
It's all over the place, man. You get a mixture of both, and you kind of have a feel for it over the like. It's you can't help it. Every time when they start walking out, you just got to glance at the bullpen, and often or not, if I see someone standing on the mound, this is my inclination before they even get out there and start talking to me. If I see someone standing on the mound, we are buying time. If I don't see someone standing on the mound, then he's coming to actually talk to me. But obviously, that's not foolproof. But like a lot of times, if there's somebody on the mound and I see him just burning, I'm like, this is my last hitter. I need to get
Yeah.
this next guy out. I don't know what they're gonna tell me, but this is probably my last guy.
So is it a little bit like when you hear the principal's heels clicking down the hallway and you just kind of got that tick going in your head?
Yeah, even when I see someone up there on the mound, it's like it just lets me know, like, all right, I got to get this next dude out. This is all I got. I mean, and if I wasn't telling myself it already, which I hope I would be by this point, but especially when you're starting, you're going out there for that, third time through the order spot when you get there, and it's like, all right, I need to start emptying the tank. And then especially when they come out to the mound, it's like, okay, 100%. We need to empty the tank. You got 1, 2 batters left. Maybe the rest of this inning, just like go get it.
And how beneficial can those mound visits where you're not getting pulled, but they're just coming out to, maybe settle you down? How beneficial really are those? Because I only played through high school baseball, but whenever I
I
was
can
on the
get there.
mound and a coach came out, I'd just be so pissed because, they're just saying the cliches. They're not really giving me anything that's going to work. Like, I know that I just walk the bases loaded. I'm going to try to get out of it.
Right. I think it's helpful for me, but it's not always the words that they say, it's just the time. Like sometimes you just need a break and you just need to
Mhm.
step away from it for a second. And Owen Dew, the former pitching coach in Columbus, now he's a coordinator, but he was really good at them because he really knew what I needed. Like I love mountain visits so much. There was one time I walked a guy and I literally looked at lava or catcher and I was like, dude, come here for a second. Like I love him that much where it's like we have 5 and we usually use 3. I don't care. Come out here. I just need a second. But back on Owen, he does such a good job because he will give you your 10 seconds. Sometimes he'll come out and crack a joke, and then it's like we'll just talk about the plan for the next pitcher or for the next hitter. And usually what he has to say is probably a lot better than what's going through my brain, especially when things aren't going good. So he just keeps me on the train tracks.
Has there been a certain hitter for you so far in the minors or even just being out in Goodyear, one of our own guys, where you were like, holy shit, I'm doing the coolest thing in the world right now? Or is it just, you're on that level now, so it's not as cool to you anymore?
I don't know. I had a few moments this year. I try not to get like it's not even an intimidation thing, but there's definitely a moment where I'm like you said, holy shit, this is cool. Like this is really cool. I Javier Baez did a rehab assignment when we were playing them in Toledo, and that was a cool moment. Just because I was like, I mean, I know whatever's going on with him right now, whatever. But like in that moment, I was still like, holy, this is insane. Like I'm facing Javier Baez. I've watched this guy win a World Series when I was a kid. Now he's standing in the box against me. Like that was really cool. Um, I feel like on our team, everyone's so cool that it's not like I think that thought comes from like I don't know you kind of thing. And a lot of the guys, especially on our big league team, are really cool and they make an effort to like be your friend and your teammate. That when they get in the box, it's like, oh, it's just one of my buddies.
Yeah, that's kind of the cool thing about the guards. Because you can say about any team you like, oh, they seem like a good group of guys. But there is something different with this exact guards core. Pat, you can attest to it. Doug, you're lucky that you just play for a Cleveland team. You're not subjected to the Browns like we are. They're having a plethora of locker room issues and then some. It seems like they're really cool dudes. How much of it does that play into it? Because I'm sure it goes down through the minors too.
Yeah, no, it starts from the top down, and that's the one thing that's very true about the Guardians, and it sadly even about the organizations that have bad culture is it trickles down from the top. Like the culture that you have in that major league clubhouse trickles down, and it starts when guys get sent up and down from AAA. That those things that they're saying, because I mean everyone wants to be where they're at. So if they're acting a certain way, it's monkey see, monkey do. Even if it's bad, that matters and it happens. And there's such a good group that when I got up to AAA and there's guys coming up and down, like they just have good things to say, and and they're even good teammates when they don't want to be in the clubhouse with us. They don't want to be in the clubhouse with me at that very moment. Like they're my teammates, they're my friends, but they still come in and they're really good guys and they are personable and they care and that just continues. It always works down, man. Because as I was coming through, I felt so fortunate that I've been around the groups that I've been a part of, and I attribute a lot of that to the way they are in the big leagues.
Getting drafted out of college, that was that reputation around Cleveland and the organization, is that something you were aware of, or is that something that you've learned obviously in your years here?
I think I learned it when I got here. I think I was such a doofus going through all my pre-draft interviews and everything. Like I didn't know what was what. I knew who was good. I was like your typical playoff baseball fan. That's kind of where I was at going into like the draft interviews and stuff. Like I knew who could win. I didn't know anything about who could do what. Um, but when I got here, I knew like I may only have a high school diploma, but I've been working with people my whole life. Like I can still get here and realize that there's a lot of good people here, and just from listening to all the other guys that I've played with that have gone different places, there's not greener pastures everywhere else. And I appreciate and I'm so thankful, I guess, that I ended up where I was because you know I just think about how my career could have fizzled out much earlier, I guess. That sounds so negative, but I mean, it's just the truth.
Yeah, and you mentioned pre-draft interviews because I remember how I thought to reach out to you when we had you on the first time was right after you actually. So it's not literally a pre-draft interview, but you were on a local radio station right after you got drafted, whose name I won't say. But I just remember the interview was like so like in the car. I noticed how uncomfy it was, which you almost never could do. And you could be sitting here thinking that about us right now. I have no clue. But I just remember like he just kept saying hottie toddy to you, and it was just like the funniest thing ever. And you're just like, yeah, like hottie toddy.
I feel like there's a lot of cliches, like not a lot, but there's definitely a few cliches surrounding me that it's like so, I guess, like easy hit on, especially if you're on like a radio show, you don't get to see me, you're just listening to my voice, and it's like, come on, man, like let's get off. I guess there was just, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember that interview. And I was on the phone too, and like I was sitting on basically like one of these balconies, and it's hard to connect when you're not like looking at somebody, I feel like.
Yeah, totally. And so I'm gonna ask you both this actually. Pat, we're gonna get you in a bat here as well. So new segment, first time we're doing this, we're calling it Draft a Raft. So both of you, who you guys can decide amongst yourselves who goes first. 4 guys in the Guards organization, can be majors, could have gotten drafted 2 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks ago now, 2 months ago. Fuck am I talking about? 5 months ago. 4 guys in the org you would take on your raft. We'll go to Alaska. How about that?
Alaska. I gotta hear
raft to Alaska.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you have to have Jose on there. You'd think, right? Jose's definitely up there. Quan, he seems like a really smart guy. Plays a lot of chess. Probably got a good brain going on up there.
Resourceful.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I mean, if we're on a raft, Doug, you grew up in Florida, you said, right? So you've been around the water. You know your way around. And then I don't know who my fourth would be. Maybe someone for who do you think is the funniest guy in the org? Because you're gonna need someone to be cracking jokes.
It depends what's your flavor. Depends what you're looking for. I mean, I know from my draft class, like I know Aaron Davenport's a pretty funny guy. I mean, if you're looking for something more dry, Tommy Mace is there for you. I mean, personally, if you can't, I mean, I'm saying it on a podcast, but I mean, I wouldn't want him to have the gratification of me thinking that he's funny. But Tanner Bybee is actually kind of funny. He makes some pretty good jokes. He's a clever guy, so you can pick any of them.
I'll take Bybee. He kind of looks like he's got that like he can survive on a raft look. He's got the scraggly little facial hair,
He's Captain Blondebeard. He'll take you all the way out to Alaska.
Doug, who would you bring on your raft?
I don't want to take any of your picks, Pat, but I love your Quan pick because that guy is a very smart individual. He beats my ass in Catan every time we play him. That's actually like our game is Catan. And I know that he would be scheming well, but I won't take any of your picks. And I want to make sure that most of them are not from my draft class, but I'll start with one that is Hunter Stanley, and that guy is going to be kind of my emotional anchor. I think that he's going to kind of keep the group together. I can't speak to his resourcefulness, but he will definitely help me. He'll keep the group together. He'll crack some jokes, and he could be dead weight, but I'll just keep him along for the ride. The good vibes guy, I want to take Tyler Beatty. I think he's like my good vibes guy. He kind of keeps everything together. And then I don't know, my group may not live. I'm really hoping I'm guiding the group because my last pick, I think I'm going to take Tanner Burns with me. And he'll be my redneck friend. He'll get down and dirty with me. We'll get in there.
You need your Florida man, as you could say.
Exactly. Yeah. He's my Alabama, Florida man.
Is he a Bama guy?
He is a Bama guy. He's Decatur where it's greater, as he would say.
So what is the, gosh, I mean, this sounds like stereotyping. so we'll go with in America of the United States. What is like the state where you just know if you hear like, oh, this guy's new to the team, he's from blank state, you just know like shit's going down once he's in the clubhouse in a good way, not like a bad way.
God, where the hell is Manzo from? Idaho? I
Idaho,
mean,
yeah.
yeah, like I knew shit was going down when I met him because he's from Idaho. What's going down in Idaho, man? I had so many questions, like the baseball and culture in Idaho. What's that like? I had to learn more about this guy.
Yeah, that's just the weirdest thing. I kind of thought he was an industry plant when we made the Savali trade for that reason, because you just don't see that.
No, you don't. And there was a lot to be learned about the guy. He is he's obviously really good at hitting baseballs, but there's a lot more to him outside of his baseball craft. And I was happy to get to know him a little bit this year.
So this is a fun one, I think, because I'm always just very curious. Because your bullpen guys, like they're out there every single day. You got to be wired a little bit odd, in my opinion, to be a bullpen guy in the first place. Nothing wrong with that. But as a starter, so you got your day after the start's probably like your biggest chill out day, relax day. Can you take me through a game day when you're 2 days off a start?
Game day, 2 days off the start. So that's my bullpen day. It was last year. They were making us throw, not making us, but we all collectively decided that we were going to throw day 3 or day 2 bullpens. So rolling into the ballpark. Let's say it's 6:30 start and get to the yard at like 1, maybe 1:30. Getting in the training room, maybe getting in the tubs, stretching out, throwing my bullpen, doing my running, probably some hacky sack, some football mixed in there. Um, Doing my workout after my bullpen. And then from there, it becomes a mixture of cards, maybe some recovery stuff mixed in there. Probably, if I'm sitting down with Tanner, we're probably watching Cops on YouTube, like Cops highlights. And then after that, it's like straight out to the game. And fun fact, the bullpen in Columbus, if you didn't know, was the bullpen's on the field, but the bullpen doesn't sit out there. They actually sit in the tunnel
Oh,
behind the dugout. So I get to be really involved with all the bullpen shenanigans, which is I've never gotten to be a part of. And this year, Family Feud was played constantly. It was only played basically when the starter was out. And then once it was their time to shine, they kind of put the Family Feud away. But I was Steve Harvey for the second half of the year. So people were not liking the way I was directing it.
what are those? Is there any like fun little, I guess, hobbies or roles you've gotten to have in a clubhouse that people wouldn't know about? But that's kind of cool. That's pretty funny.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily rules because you see people do all kinds of stuff, but there's kangaroo court, and if you violate anything that anyone deems is against their book of rules, then it gets taken to the court. And basically, I mean, it's everyone just votes on it. Usually, it's like once a month. We actually didn't do this in AAA, but we did in AA. Was once a month you bring the whole group together. Everyone's
We
got
did
slips
that.
on there, and everyone's getting grilled for all kinds of different things. So I mean, there really isn't any rules, but I think it's like landmark court cases every single time we break out the kangaroo court because then you know what you can't do after that.
Yeah, you
Our
set the precedent.
our
Exactly.
club hockey team did kangaroo court. So our max fine was, or so I shouldn't say me as much. I wasn't really doing much of this kind of stuff, but the max fine was $5. So I'm sure it's a little bit different when you get up into the minor league levels. But I'm sure there's some things that transcend. For example, there's one guy who you just know is getting lit up for a bill every single time. Who
Oh
was the
yeah.
guy for you guys in AA who was just an auto?
I think some people. I know this much. Brad Hanner was putting the most slips in there. He had the most cases against. He was he was constantly throwing people in the box. He was probably the most locker room attendant, if anybody. But of people that were getting thrown in there, um, I know Lenny Torres probably popped up a lot. I think Lenny popped. Who else popped up a lot? I think Davis Sharp had his name thrown in there a fair bit. It was a pretty fair mix. I just know Lenny definitely got in there a lot because he was he I'll leave that up to him to say. That's probably too deep, but he found himself in the box a few times.
And for my time watching Clip Talk, I got to see a couple of the guys who they'd pick for the aux in the locker room. Noticeably, you weren't in there, which I was kind of surprised by. But when slash if you get that opportunity, what are your go-to 2 or 3 songs in the clubhouse to get everyone going or whatever the mood is? Like, what's your oh shit, panicking? This is what I'm putting on.
This is why I don't get the aux, is because I'm putting on nothing anyone wants to hear. I'm like your mixture of like early 2000s rock, late 90s rock, um, metal. That's kind of like where I live. That's why no one really wants to hear my music that much because everyone wants to hear, the rap country. I guess that's like what you're going to hear 90% of the time in the locker room. Um, so I feel like just because it's on the front of my brain, I was listening to it today when I was working out, but Fuel by Metallica, that's the best workout you're ever gonna have. You're gonna feel charged the whole time.
I was gonna ask with that. So we're a huge fan on this podcast of walk-up songs, pitching songs. You could get us going for millions of hours on that topic. Do you have any sneak peek or any early premonitions of the 2025 pitching song for yourself?
I don't know if I get stuck on songs. I was all college and my early part of my pro career. It was Rooster by Alice in Chains. I would not change. I wouldn't get off of it. And then I think last year, because I did bad enough, it pushed me away from the song, which was probably a good thing because it was getting worn out. And this past year, I switched to Dead and Bloated by Stone Temple Pilots, and I love it. So I'm probably going to stick with it. But I've toyed with a zillion different songs. But like that's the thing, I didn't realize till last year that Zach Wheeler's walkout song was also Rooster, and it totally ruined it for me because I
Yeah.
was like, if I ever do make it, which I mean, not if, but hopefully when I do make it, I don't want anyone. I don't think anyone would ever connect it. But if God forbid someone does connect it and they're like, oh, Doug stole Zach Wheeler's walk up song, it's like, no, that was a total original thought. And I feel like, is that what you guys are kind of talking about with the walkout songs, or what you guys could talk about it forever on?
Oh, we could just talk about it forever on giving suggestions, thoughts on players' walk-up songs. Like I don't know why, I just think Pat, like that's your best connection as a fan to the player, I think. I want your thoughts on that.
Oh,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something, Jack, that you can talk about. You can name every Guardians player's walk-up song going back to
Dude,
2013.
that's like my little niche. If that ever comes up in life, I can always roll those out.
Yeah, and how much of that, Doug, goes into that? Are you picking that song for you, or say as you move up the ranks, are you going to look for a song that, fans will recognize it's your day on the hill when they hear that, they get pumped up hearing that song?
I, in a perfect world, it's both. I think when I was in college, it was so recognizable. I think your performance is what shapes the walkout song. And I know, Jack, you can hear a walkout song of someone that probably sucked at some point, and you're like, I hate this damn song. Because every time they walked up to the dish or something, you're like, here comes whatever, Like, I think your performance shapes the way you think about that song. I always picked my song for myself. I need something that's going to, like, I feel like you said, there's identity tied into it. Like, this is me. I authentically, this is what I like. This is my genre. This is what actually truly fires me up to be out there and doing what I love to do. That's how I look at it. Some people are like, no, I want the fans to like it. And my thought is like, they will like it if you pitch good, or they'll like it if you hit good. Like, that's just, I think that's where it's tied to. And I think when I played Rooster in college, like, people knew, okay, it's Doug Day, we're gonna win today. And I think that's where that is, like, the whole niche identity thing kind of tied in throughout college. And I think that's also part of why I wanted to change it, was because, like, no, I want to do something else. I guess like I feel like I graduated from that song in a little bit of a way.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love when it's kind of the guy and the song, you just don't see a correlation. Those are my favorite ones. Like there was a year in Cleveland when you see Miles Straw, you think, okay, like shorter white dude. I mean, he could be tall. He just looks kind of short compared to the other guys, I guess. Like shorter white dude, looks like kind of a country boy. Like, all right, like maybe you're gonna see some Morgan Wallen here. Had Ambitions as a Write Up by Tupac, and I was like, what the hell? Never saw that coming.
That happens all the time, man. Manzo's walkout song, the "Come Over Here," that song, that like that's so authentically him. I feel like that it's hilarious that you say that because in a way, I feel like that is also authentically Miles Straw, and that's the window that you get to see into with that song and with that choice.
Yeah, totally. Manzo's the one that's just so funny to me because he always looks very like calm, or if you hear an interview, like he just seems like a pretty chill dude. I feel like when he got to Cleveland, was it the Twins he hit the homer against in the regular season?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it was like a walk off or like a late tying or take the lead. Like I just went fucking nuts. Like that's the coolest thing when the guys who you just don't see it out of give you that little fire, just gets you going.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just got a hedgy fat bottom girls, brings everything home. That's what there's. I don't know how much you've interacted with him, Doug, but if you could speak to that guy, like he's someone to me. Gold contract, as long as he wants to wear a Cleveland Guardians uniform, that's okay by me. I won't say a word.
I haven't gotten to talk to him enough, man. You only hear good things about the guy, and like that says a lot. I mean, if you only hear good things, you can only expect good things. But I do need to get to know him because, I mean, for me, he's just shrouded in good mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. And last little thing we like to do, bringing everyone for this, is hot takes. Doug, we're putting you totally on the spot here. You have no time to prepare for this. Just anything that's popped in your head, we can come back to you as well. Just a hot take in the past week of your life.
I actually have one, and
Okay.
it's that the reputation that Monster Energy has got for like the Kyle white boy who has anger issues. I think we need to get away from that because I had a Monster for the first time in God, I don't even know how long the other day, and I had the most productive day of work I have had in months. And yeah, I was just sitting here at my desk doing my typing in my spreadsheets, but I've never been so fired up to be in Excel than after having that monster.
Absolutely. Come on. I'm going to
Respect.
go buy you some more time here, Doug. I didn't think either. Off the cuff, I wrote it too. I've had bad ones like 4 episodes in a row.
What was
I have
your
to
last
put
one?
my shit back together. My last one was that uh, Timberlands are just a no go unless you need to wear Timberlands for work.
Oh yeah,
I respect it. I feel
yeah.
like it's not hot though. I mean, unless you're like 50 Cent, like that's the only guy that's probably objecting to that.
That's fair. All right.
I want to replace my hot take. Actually, I'll buy you guys a little more time.
Yeah, you're killing it right now.
The Fox Big Noon kickoff is ruining Big Ten football.
Oh,
And Doug, I know you're an
100%
SEC
agree.
guy, so you probably love having the night games on ESPN at 7:30. And Jack, I mean, you talked to it early on a previous episode. What are we doing having the best teams in the nation play against each other at noon? Especially when three teams in the conference now are on the West Coast. That's 9 a.m. for them just to see the guys they're going to play the next week. It's ridiculous.
I
Brutal.
got my hot take now.
What is
Not,
it?
not totally. It's not a crazy take anymore. When I said this last week, it was a crazy take though because I predicted it. Give me Jackson Dart and the Rebs to host a home playoff game.
Oh,
Wow.
Would you go down for that, Doug?
yeah. I would go. I would. If when would that be? When would that even be?
Early December.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm 100% there. I would have to be there. I missed the Georgia game. How did I miss that? I don't even know how I missed that.
Yeah, no, that's insane. Have you gone to pregame in the Grove? I've heard the Grove is like the go-to spot in college football.
It is not a hot take. It is the best tailgating experience in all of college football.
Wow.
I've been on the tour of the SEC and I've seen what they have to offer. And that, there's a lot to offer in the Big 12. There's a lot to offer in the Big 10. But I mean, this is like different. There's no cars. There's nothing. There's no separation. It is a bunch of tents inside of an acre and a half lot in the middle of campus that is unrestricted tailgating connected. There's not like parking lot here, parking lot there. It is like and that's the thing. It's Oxford. Their culture is totally like we're gonna put chandeliers inside of a pop-up tent and like have a cheese fondue like situation going on at a tailgating place and all the women are wearing dresses and they're not wearing like jerseys. It's like totally different. I'm not like totally sold on the way everyone dresses there. Love Oxford, love that, but like it is an insane tailgating experience.
Heck, we might need to go down if they do host a home playoff game. That
If
sounds awesome.
they could actually, they could align with Notre Dame. There's a good chance of that. And if they
Wow.
align with Notre Dame, I would definitely open up the first big boy check of my life on that.
Did you have to? It's like everyone that I send there. I actually Petey Halpin went there with one of his family friends, and I was like, hey, here's this that you have to go do. And he left. He called me on the like right before he got on his flight back. He's like, that place is like heaven. He loved it because like it's just it's like I can't speak for the rest of Mississippi, but within a 10-mile radius of the Grove, it is a beautiful place. All right, I got my hot take. I'm finally ready. It's not good, but it's just like I don't know why it popped in my brain. Um, but I do think that every mature individual will probably hate this, and like 10-year-olds will be on my side. Pencils over pens. I am fully opposed to the permanent ink. Give me the eraser. Give me not just like the eraser on the top of the pencil. Give me like the old pink eraser
Oh
and
yeah.
and you know what? I'll up my take even more. Take your notes in class with pencil and a piece of paper.
That's
I
crazy.
want yeah, over the typing. I'm not learning anything. I might as well just like put the microphone on and just like I want pen to paper with the option, with the player option to then erase if I need to.
Maybe even take it into ARB in the later years. But
Yeah.
Doug, my only argument to that, you're a very successful pitcher. I can't tell you much about pitching, anything actually that would improve anything you can do. But if you hang a curveball out in Altoona on a Saturday night, there's no eraser. You know,
There
you
is
got to
no
be perfect.
erase. Maybe that's the problem I'm griping with is I just want that eraser. I don't want the permanent.
What is what goes through your head when you're in a pack? Because like there's some minor league parks that get some people going, especially on the weekends. You played in some huge college environments, obviously too. We'll get to the strikeout after to save face, but when you just let up a bomb, just what goes through your head? Like when it's just like an off the bat nuke, you don't even need to turn around, you know it's out.
Just an auto just ask for another ball from the umpire kind of spot. I think right when it happens, part of me is like guilty to say this. I like listening to the crowd go nuts, even though I just gave it up. I'm like, I gave up. So, I don't know why this popped in my head. I gave up Dayton. Actually, it was blowing up on baseball Twitter about how they outdrew the Oakland Athletics. High A Dayton for the Reds and they're packed. They were packed, man, and they were packed in one night. And I gave up. I think it was Alan Serta. I gave up a home run to Alan Serta, and knew it was gone off the bat. Immediately, my move. I don't look. give me another baseball. And they won't do it until he touches home plate. And then that's my excuse to get mad at the umpire. But that's usually my move. And the only thing going through my head is I just kind of like am listening, because they have a siren that goes off, like literally a bull siren. And I kind of just get a little kick out of listening to the fans go nuts. But then it also makes me, it's like a little like pressure release, and then after you get back, and then you just kind of get back to it after it. But there's nothing worse than the fence scrapers. I hate those. But when you give it up and it's like a clear like nuke, you just give me another baseball.
Yeah, when Pat and I are pitching in the show, it's usually not a wall scraper.
Yeah, we give up some moonshots for sure.
Do you play video games at all?
Shame to say no. I play. Does the Nintendo Switch count as playing video games?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that counts. Like, if you say you game and then you pull out your Nintendo Switch, I feel like I'm gonna get the side eye from all my like COD teammates that think they're going to World War III.
We had a Mario Kart league in college.
That's respectable.
Yeah,
that's a league I could be a part of.
Well,
that's my game. That's my version. Yeah, I play Mario Kart, like Breath of the Wild, Legends of Zelda. I literally I can't get away from it. What am I, 25 years old now, and I still play Pokemon. Like, I'm a child. In that way, when I'm playing video games, I don't want to have simulated combat going through my mind personally. Yeah. I'd rather play Mario Kart and catch Pokemon, as childish as it sounds.
And Mario Kart's huge with the guards, from what we can tell. There was an article like 2 years. It was the 2022 year, about them playing Mario Kart, and like Jose would offer like $500,000 to whoever could beat him. And it was like funny because it was maybe like $1 million or something like that. And it was in the Athletic, and like only like 4 guys on the roster even made $1 million that year or something like that, because it was such a young team. Are you prepared for that at all? Or do you have a go-to track that you're like, okay, I'm taking it home?
Yeah, I think if you give me the standard bike on the Blue Azules with like DK, and then you throw me on like Moo Moo Meadows, I think I got him. I think that's how I get him, or whatever that Grand Prix is, because you're probably not going to let me just take one for a mil. You know,
dude. No, Moo Moo Meadows though, the third lap when all the cows get out there, every single time I'm an auto at least hit one.
That you got to do the cut. You got to hit the cut every single time on the inside.
But the shrooms, oh yeah.
Yeah, you got to cut through the inside.
I know way too many shortcuts in that game that I'd like to admit, but Pat, you got anything else? So we got enough of Doug's time already.
I think that's all I got.
Doug, you got anything else?
I got nothing.
You ever have any like in season you're like, oh, like I wonder what a fan would think about this moments so we could fill you in on?
Wonder what a fan would think about this. Oh, when did you keep up with our playoffs, like Columbus playoffs? That just like that 3-game stretch that we played against Omaha at the end?
Yeah.
When we won that first game, what were you guys? What was the fan? Were you thinking like, it's kind of locked up? Or, I mean, even if we don't want to talk about measly little AAA, after game, what would that have been? Game 3 of the ALCS. So we had just Jonky just hit the tying, and then we hit the homer. What is your thoughts thinking after that?
Funny you asked that. Jack and I were at that game together, standing out in the corner in the standing room only. And my immediate reaction was, I mean, Jack, you're the same way. We were talking about it right there. Just blacked out. Had no idea what actually happened. Couldn't believe that it actually happened. And immediately was just like, okay, we're going to the next game and the next game because we're going to end up winning this series. This is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say like that, like, what we got there just shows you what we have going on in our lives. We were like, okay, we got to be in the corner for this game. Like, it's like, because the corner is like the cool place to be. Like, that's like the standing room, the whatever. What time we get there? Like 3:30 or something like that?
We got there, the second the game
2:30.
opened.
Well, it
Yeah,
was an
on a
earlier
weekday.
game. But I just remember when John hit the home run, like I didn't even drink that day. I don't think we had something going on the next day. I didn't even drink. I was like stone cold sober. When John hit that home run, I like ran down from the corner to the front row, and I was just like hugging some grandpa who I just like had never met before. I was beside myself. But for the minor league playoffs, I guess I don't even look at it like. For me, it's more so like my perspective. I'm like I'm checking in on like guys like you, like how's Doug doing? Like we want to see him up here soon. Like he's a really nice guy. Okay, he pitched sick in game 1. That's my AAA World Series. Like that for us. Like pack it in, we're good. That was the cool thing for us. But it was cool to see the single A team make a run too, just because of Bazana and like obviously Cleveland. You got a pretty decent history with number 1 overall picks in sports. Actually, never mind, the Browns fucked that up. Everyone else has a good first overall pick. So there were some eyes on that and just how fun that single A group was. So your last question for realsies this time. Is there a minor league team that you've been a part of, or like a core group of like 3 or 4 buddies you've gotten to run with who's just been like really special to share this whole journey with, that you'll get to look back on, have a beer with in 30 years and be like, yeah, that was so cool we did that?
Man, I remember. I feel like I've been every year that I've played. I don't know how I've been a part of it, but every year that I've played, one of the teams, either the team that I got promoted from or the team that I was with prior or the team that I just got there with, made the playoffs. So every group that I've played with has had some sort of success. My closest guys, I mean, we'll be able to sit back and drink beer and talk about anything else. I think a lot of the guys that I'm closest with, it's not even about baseball, it's just about life. But I think on the baseball side of things, like me and Will Dion have been like running side by side literally since we got here. And we've played together at every single level at some point. He started in Lynchburg and I got to start in high. And we've just literally been riding this ship together. And I can't wait to one day, like you said, just be like, shit, man, that was a journey because we do the same exact thing. We're both left-handed starting pitchers. Like we both go about it differently, but I don't know. We relate and talk about ball in such a different way that I've talked about ball with anybody else. And I think it's going to be a fun conversation 20 years down the road to be like, man, that was fun. We were enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll have you back on sometime in the soon, near, whenever future to, now that we got all your baseball career out of the way, we can hop back into the fun stuff whenever we get you back on, now that we're updated through your minor league career. But we wish you the best, and thanks as always for coming on. It's awesome when guys like this, like Doug, take the time out of their day for 50 minutes to sit down and talk ball. So Doug, thanks for joining us, man.
No problem, Jack.